So now you're going to see the next, you can say, how to manage your deployment. So here, what you need to do is, how are you going to manage your deployment? So this actually consists of that you have installed ADDS and CR with various components, and you are going to handle are the services running or not. If any issue happens, example like you are sending a query to the data store that I want to display the last week data, and but instead of that it is giving the data is not available. But once you do TCP dump onto the adapter, you see that the data is there and it is at the, you can say, adapter. So what you need to do is like you need to go to the service and check is the EPP queue full or not, or is the memory full or not, is the services running or not. So that is where you manage your deployment. So this is one way, that is called as the troubleshooting. At the same time, if you have scheduled any particular job, you can say you have scheduled a job or scheduled an email alert or scheduled, and you can say you are connected to the IoT sensor for turning on the light. So that time what you do is like you are going to check if that particular notification queue which has been maintained. So there would be email queue, there would be the email alert notification queue, and there would be any query queue which has been added by the user. So these are need to be checked while this situation comes. So now at the same time, so once you provide the deployment, okay, so next part would be the maintaining. So this maintaining consists of by using the DCC first part, that is like NIF command and control, and it will have the services. So this will be very easy for you to understand as you have already gone through different NIF components. So here, how are you going to access NIF container via SSH, which we have just seen. Now we are going to see what is actually the retention policies, what are the different methods which you can apply. Do you have to update it again and again, or do you have to set it once and it will automatically update, or when do you want to start taking the backup, when do you have to restore your indexes, how will you manage your n number of indexes. And just in case if your host IP address is there, and just and from management the decision comes that we are going to change the last octet, so that is where you change the host address of the E10. And again, if you are upgrading your version from the old to the latest one, so what all steps which you need to follow. So these are the ones that happens due to as the time increases or time grows. So you integrate smart devices with more features and benefits. So at the same time, these are quite very useful. Okay. So the first thing which you are going to see is the NIF command and control. Now, what is it? It's again the name says it's for troubleshooting. It's for better understanding. You can work with the supervisor CTL, but you need to have a knowledge about you can say the TCP dump commands, you can say cat commands, all the open source commands, networking command, SSH, FTP, or you can say these are required. Now, just in case if the person is not into that technical perspective, but also still needs to do the monitoring. So this is like a very easy way to understand. So you don't have to remember any query. It's just the commands which are presented to you. What you need to view or work with them are displayed here. Very easy to do it. It has some functions inside it. So these functions are nothing but you can say doing the troubleshooting if anything happens. So the first step which you always do it is like go to the check section. Then means it is going to check the servers, or you can say the servers are up and running, your unit umbrella network is up and running, or you can say your particular you can say services are properly listed. You can see list of indexes, and you can add, edit, or you can say delete your index. You can say take a backup of your configuration files. Everything is given in the check. So it is like a overall, or you can say network um, information given over here. But you need to know the detailed information. That's where diagnostic functions are quite very helpful. So diagnostic is going to give your detailed information about any particular activity. If it's related to the correlator, adapter, or you can say data store, it will going to give the detailed information. Then you have the third called as the service. So services of the components, Statistics would be, do you want to start a service, stop a service, you want to see the the last log of a service, or you want to list all the services so you can see over here. Then the fourth is the setup. In the setup, what you do, you create a backup of your configuration. You do a restoring of your configurations, and that's where you use the setup. The last is the system. That is, it's called as, these are the five DCC function. System is going to give that what is your CPU utilization, what is your memory utilization, what is your heap memory, what is your virtual memory, what is your stack memory, heap count, or all this information are there inside the system. How many interfaces are there? Is your network, how many switch calls are there? How many hardware interrupts are there? Is there any process in sleep mode or is it active mode? And you can see how many Ethernet ports are there. So you can see all of these over here. Here also you can see the version, NIF version number also. So these are nothing but the NIF function, five important NIF functions, which you see inside the, you can say, NIF command and control. So let me just take you to the back end, how you work with the NIF command and control. It's quite very easy. So just before going to it, so let me just take you where you can get more details on this. So let me just take you to where you can find more details. Okay, so here, suppose over here you can see the configurations. Okay, you can see the management. Okay. So here you can see information. So let me just quickly take you. Okay, so this is where, like, if you are using the older version, okay, so there is a Targis file. Okay, so this Targis file is specifically, you can say, you can just it's a small file. You don't have to create any node. You have to just put it where your Docker container is. So if you put it inside the Docker container, so it will help you out, and you can say connecting to your, you can say, data store. So what it consists of, it is written in, you can say, the Python programming latest version, yes. And also at the same time you have all the ports like ADDSCR. You're collecting the status of the statistics of each and every components which you are showing over here. So this is nothing but an interactive session, as in, like, you are having a notebook with you and you want to see what is happening at a, if you're doing an interior designing at your home. So you'll maintain that note, as in, so these will give you an information about it. So let me just give you the management, managing and deployment, DCC. So here you can see for ADDS and CR is present. So we can look for the A10, so it will provide all the information. So the first part which it tells you is, like, if you're working with the oldest one, with the latest one, it automatically comes with the image. Okay. So you can see that there is a Targis file. You need to put inside the deployment key, unzip, or you can say extract that file, and the folder DCC would be created. So once this is created, you need to open that particular file. So let me just take you to the backend where you're going to work with the, you can say, you're going to see. Okay, so can you see there's a file which I have put over here? So this is the file, unextracted, or you can say unzipped. You can see DCC folder. So you have to traverse to the path DCC. Done. So next part would be, you can see what's there inside it. It consists of the function names which you have just seen, checks, diagnostic. It consists of the files which are running for these performance actions. So what you need to do is, can you see a file called as, init.sh. So this is called as for loading all the libraries and packages to run the, or to get inside the DCC environment. So what you provide is source init.sh, and you don't have to worry, these steps are provided onto the website. And if you are referring later for study purpose, for preparation, you will have all the links with you. So these will be uploaded onto the YouTube as well. So the first thing what I do is like load this file. So when I load this file, so it's going to, you can see some like packages which are getting loaded. Mostly you can say if you have worked with Python programming, so you can say pandas, numpy, or you can say interpreter, you can say package names, and you can say virtual environment. So this is like a virtual environment which is getting created. So these are helping you out to collect information from the components. So till this loads, so it doesn't take much time, it is very quick, depends on like how much information which you're providing. So it doesn't affect in your existing deployment at all, and it is not going to take much of a space. The size of the file is something around in you can say 60 to 70 MB. I'm not exactly sure, it's some 60 to 70 MB only. And as you can see over here, uh, that it has changed from root at the rate to envdcc, that you are successfully inside the envdcc. Now just in case if you don't get this and you get some error like connectivity.py, it means that you are not inside the docker container, or what you have done is you have not made your docker container up and running. So that time you may see the error. So if you have successfully got this, what you need to do is just type the keyword called as dcc. Now this is very good, and here you don't have to memorize or understand or make a note of any, just need to know what are the 5 functions and what they do. So now in the dcc, so what you do have to do is like how to proceed with them. So you can say dcc. So as this is an A10 component, you can see you have to just provide dcc. What is the next function? Checks function. So you can say just give dcc checks, and it is going to give you you can say commands, or you can say function called as I want to see. Now this is A10, so you can see the status of the A10. If it was AD, CR and DS, so you can view them. So the next command would be just provide A10. So these are all up, lowercase, and this like spaces between them, uniquely identifiable. And once you do DCC checks A10, so it's going to give a detailed information. So let me just scroll this down for you. So it is like very interesting way to work with. So I'm just taking it up. So this is checking operation. So you can see that once I fired the query on DCC checks A10, so you can see this is an A10 version. How much is the CPU utilization? So you can say, oh, this is 100% CPU utilization. How much is disk utilized? So you can see total is 620 GB and used is 516 GB, and free is only 103. Okay. So you can say 83, and I have put a percentage, like if it is 85 percentage above, then give me a notification. That is the disk utilization. And if I just scroll down, you can see the memory utilization. So how much is your swap memory? So when you allocate a memory, you can do a memory partition also. So it's very good if you provide the swap memory also, if you are doing changes inside any file, taking a backup of a file. So that time swap memory is quite very useful. Means for a particular file, you will have instances like you are editing, one is the old file. So that time it is quite very useful. You'll have the virtual memory also. It will have the space for the buffers, the cached memory, what is the free memory, how much it has divided between your actual and the virtual memory. You'll get a detailed information. So first thing which you always do is check the memory first. Second, check the services. Then you provide ahead with the EPS status. So here we have divided, we have given like here you get it as, so here we are getting it's a listener syslog UDP. Here instead of this you get for 1 minute what is the EPS count, 10 minute, 30 minute, for an hour you get the EPS count over here. Then you get queue server status. So you get as true, and inside that, okay, is there any queue, means this is for the data queue, means the data which is collecting, which is coming or getting transferred, you are going to get the count of the queue, means the number of logs which you're getting. Alert queue, how many email alerts are there and how many report alerts are there. So this, the value will come over here. Then you can see all A10 service status. So if I just scroll down, you now you have seen all the services, that the services name, process, ID, if they are running or stopped or fatal, and the uptime. So these services you get a detailed information what's going on. Also you can see, can you see enrich domain tool, that is for the enrichment of your data. Then you can say wherever you see the listener, now this is an adapter, or you can say A10 setup. That's why all the services of ADDS are all collectively displayed over here. So wherever you see listener, it's a service of an adapter. So if you see any data store, so it is related for storing your, you can say data store, indexing, balancing, transact, all of this. If it is related to scheduling or executioning, it is for the correlator services. Then I'm just scrolling this down. So you can say listener netflow v5. Then you can say listener syslog TCP, listener syslog UDP. So you can see these details over here. Now, if you have this detail, you can directly go to that particular how to troubleshoot. Yes, very easy to do it. Okay, so just scrolling it down more. Okay, so you have all the services over here. And once you see, the important is the NQ, how much you are getting from the, you can say devices inside the EPP module, that EPP pipeline, and what is the list of, you can say the logs which are passed from the EPP pipeline. So you get the details from this, it has been sent. So as you can see over here, so you can see that the message has been displayed. At the same time, if there is any ETL, now this is the ETL message, so it is coming from different location timestamp, and at the same time it will give you a total information that in queue value is this, out queue value is this. So now here I need to see, okay, EPP has gone high, okay, so this will be required to look at. So you can see how why this EPP count is there. Then you can see DB server status. So there are like three statuses, like the yellow, the green, and the red. So you can say server status is okay now, and you can say status is green, means everything is working fine, memory good, service is good. Then if it is in a yellow zone, means there is some services which is taking too much, or there's a load. And if it is inside, if it is a red, means there are like some services which has gone into fatal state. So you have to look immediately. And where you can see, if you see it onto the front end on your GUI, so you can say this is given in the green color area, and that's where you see the node number. And what is the DB server current index? So you can say currently now this is how the index number is given, DSDB hyphen year 2020 06 month 22 date. And what's there inside it, when was it created? So the time is in the form of UTC time format. Is there any replica? So if I have given any clustering with replication, so here it would be replication. Now these are coming from the configuration files which you have set. Is there any shard count which you have provided? So you can see the shard count, and there's one more over here. Then you can see what is the refresh interval. Now you remember that you have given the refresh interval of 1 second, 60 second, 15 second. This is all on you. So you can put it over here. Then the next is A10 server information. So you can see the name of the cluster is Gmail, and what is your deployment key. That is a deployment key, and what is the system name. So once this is added, last is the NIF version also. Also you can see what is the connectivity status from different component. Now here you can see the same IP address over here at CRDS, DS, VDS. So there are like, oh, because as it is A10, the IP address of the A10, or you can say ADDS and CR would be same. But if it was distributed setup and you were running for multiple AD, so you would say IP address of AD1, and then the next IP address, the third IP address, four IP address, and then you have the UNet connectivity, that is the umbrella network, which is very important. If UNet is down, you won't be able to access to the NIF console. Also the backend, the you can say the database. What it does is it will help you in authentication, authorization, billing information for any request. It's like you can say you go across a border, every activity has been identified. So this is where you see the DCC checks A10. So if you give it for AD, now as you see, this is for A10 setup. If you provide feature for AD, so it will give it that it is a bad request. So now coming to the checks, now you might have seen this is the checks. So at the same time, so there is a video for you all onto the YouTube for you to understand the depth of each and every functions. So that is there onto the YouTube. So you can see it onto the chat section. Also, you can go to our YouTube NIF and you can subscribe over there. So there is a NIF Connect which was presented. This in part 1 and part 2 where you can see all those details. So I'm going to just show you how or what's there inside the diagnostic. So you can see connectivity. So I'm just taking it up. In the diagnostic, it will have connectivity, data cluster, queues, and the worker. So you can say if I have to just give DCC, DAG, and you can say connectivity. So this will give you AD to DS. Okay, AD stands for adapter, DS for data store, CR for correlator. So it's like a connection between them. So you can just provide DCC, DAG, connectivity, space, AD hyphen DS. So if you are interested to see one of these, so you can just provide connectivity, AD hyphen DS and enter. So you can see the port numbers are reachable or not reachable and from AD to DS. So you mention all are these displayed over here. So once this is done, so that was the connectivity part. So you can see for the list of the data clusters also. So data cluster is a service for the data store. Very important. Now I am very interested to work with the indices because indices consist of, you can say, the log data. And these are, if you see it on the backend side, so these are encrypted. Even if you try to open the indexes, okay. So if I just show a particular index name that you want to show all the list of indices. So if I just say show open indices and enter, so you can say the last one it will give you. Okay, so whoever is managing the backend or the data store, oh, you can put who can access it by putting a password, who can access the DCC and the port number also you can provide. Very important part, keep in check that every day is just one decreasing order because you are getting indexes for every day 22, 21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16 and so on. So this is very important to work with. Now you can do what all operations which you can do is you can close index, you can view the current index, you can delete index, you can do it one at a time. Also you can delete multiples, you can say take a backup of multiple, and you can close multiple from backend, yes, from front end also you can do that. So this is very important, very useful while working. So now coming to DCC DAG. So next is the queues. Now queues is a important perspective. So once I had done an experiment where I had raised 7,000 alerts, and I found out, oh, it's inside the ingester queue and there is like inward queue. This is like the logs which are coming to the adapter. Inward queue is like which are going from, which are ready to go to the next component. Details of these are all there on the website, but the main aim is that you understand this, what, when are you going to work if you are sending alert, and where you have to look at. So you can see the count of queues and the report queues. So you can see it inside the queues. It's very good to work with. Then the last is worker. Now this is specifically for the correlator. You can see active jobs, how many current jobs, how many queries 10, 20 people are filing. Then you can see, is there any worker queue? Now this is a queue specifically for the correlator. Is there any registered task? Is there any reserved jobs? Means like at every 1:15 p.m. on every Monday, I want to send a particular report. That is called as a reserved job. Then it is like scheduled, means that is scheduled for that particular time to be launched. Then you can see the stats and the statistics, like what is the information which the correlator is going to work with. So these are the functions for diagnostic, connectivity, data cluster, queues, and the worker. It's very interesting that when I work with the troubleshooting, yes, but also the thrill to solve any, you can say, scenario. So that is very useful. Now, at the same time, if you see service, okay, so you can say you can view the list of services. You can restart, you can show the EPS count, you can set the log level if it's a warning, or if it's a, you can say it is related to the log data, it is a data value, it is an error log. So you can provide it. So there are numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You can see the status of a service, you can stop a service, and you can see the tail of a particular service. So now, so that was what DCC service is going to do. Now, if you observe this, you don't have to memorize any of the, you can say, queries over here. Now let's see for system. So this is the fifth DCC function for you to work with. And while you are actually experiment onto the live project, so you will do it very quickly. You can search around very quickly, and you can say you want to work with CPU, disk, NIF version, information, interfaces. How many interfaces are there? So suppose if I just give, I want to work with interfaces. So let me just system, and you can just provide interfaces, and this is going to give how many interfaces are provided. So you can see all the, you can say Docker information, your ETH information, your all the ones which are provided. Not only that, you can also see your network NIC cards which are associated. You can see the list of processes which are available. You can see the status of the system. So here if I just say, instead of the system, I just want to view the NIF version. So you can directly say over here. So this is best way to look at. So these are the 5 functions of DCC: checks, diagnostics, service, setup, and the system. It is very good. Please, I would say go ahead and understand this, and it will be very helpful in managing your deployment. Now, at the same time, now let me just share my screen where you can see the next part is the retention policy. Now, what is the retention which you have just seen? The hot retention and the cold retention. So here there is something called as, you can say, variable, capital, variable, and capital. It means suppose you have taken an A10 subscription. Okay, so if you just see one of these, so you have first information 45 days you have the data available. So whenever you say I want to display data onto the NIF console, or make it as hot retention, make it for 45 days, and rest data would be for the offline data. That is called a default retention duration. Now you want to increase the retention duration. So what you do is like give the data which you want to available is 90 days and rest for the offline data. Means you are increasing your retention period. How you are increasing? You want to increase every 1 month, 2 month, 3 months. So that's where you have the capital. Now you want to do it automatically. You don't have to change it inside your file. So you just give variable, and this is called as variable. This is called as capital. The third is called as the variable and the capital, where you say keep increasing for the number of duration of days. So here what you do, this is called as decreasing retention duration. Means you have the data available onto the web console for 10 days, and you have the offline data, that is the backup which you are providing. And how do you change the retention policy? So you have to go to CSTUL config, and there's a system file. Inside it you need to do one operation that is called as provide the retention period as the number of days. Here suppose if you are doing any replication, comma, give called as replica equal to 1, means you have one component, there is one more replica. 2 means 2 more replica. So this is a way where you do the, you can say, retention policy which you are providing. Suppose if you have taken for 810 and you initially have given 45 days, your memory is full, but again you want to increase the retention. So you need to come over here, CSTL config system, and you can do the operations. So that is where you can provide. Now you may know about a list of all other functions, like you're providing the check the functions inside. So now in order to come out of this, so I've just give deactivate, or you can just click exit. You can do that. You can just provide. Okay, so you can follow backtrack the steps where you say source init.sh to go to the virtual environment again, or you can do it supervisor CTL. Now at the same time I want to do a backup or any checkup. So what you do is like, okay, you want to provide, okay, so you can say what is your memory. So that is called as, you can say, checking your disk space using df space -h, and you say, okay, how many memories are there, overlay memories, size used, available, percentage, where it is mounted, root location, or folder inside folder. So you can see all over here. So this is a very good way to work ahead. Suppose if you want to see how many, you can say, memory is there, how many swap memory is there. So you can say total is 31 GB, used is 9.3, free is 9.2, shared is 1.1, buffer cache I have given as like 12 GB, available is 21 GB. Is there any swap memory? So you can, if you're using the VMware or any VMware, or you suppose ESXi, and what you do is you can change your hardware size, means you can increase your hardware size without affecting your component. So you don't have to uninstall, follow all the step, install. So you don't have to go through all this hassle. So you can easily do with this. So this is for checking the disk space. Now the next part which comes as this, like you want to take a backup, and you want to take a backup and the restoring. Okay, so that's where what you do is like, okay, so let me take you back to my presentation slide. Okay, so here we have seen NIF command and control DCC functions. You can go to YouTube channel and there are like 2 videos for it, and definitely you can go ahead and watch these videos. Part 1 is about function explanation, part 2 is about in-depth explanation about the functions and what they are actually doing. Now the next part you have seen is the Docker container, and you can say how to access NIF container via SSH. Then the next part is the retention policy, which you have seen that you have to go to CSTUL config and the system, and you have to, inside the file, you just provide the number of days. So once that is provided, you have seen the disk space by providing df space -s. There are many more commands which you say check the commands, how many memories there, how much heap memories there, how many virtual memories there. Now the backup and pruning. So now before going ahead with this, okay, so let me just um, okay, so let me see solve your queries which you have put it onto the chat section. All right. So here from you can say, okay, from Anurag Sugandhi, we have a question that the Docker version number is you get it from installing or the stable image. So this Docker image version is the version is something like you can mention which version which you are installing. So you provide that this is the version number. Mostly the versions which they have uploaded are mostly the stable version. I usually prefer the versions which are higher than, you can say, 16, and the latest version 18. So these are the much good ones. So this is there. And then the next is, you can say, okay, so from Deepak Nerala, you have a query. Suppose if you have installed NIF on the AWS cloud and you are getting an error like conf NIF A10, and the error is, you can say, root DB is not up, waiting. So in this, Deepak, what you are going to do is like, if you see that your database is not up and running, so first thing which you need to do is check if your Docker is installed properly. Second, and check if you are inside the you can say the Docker. And the third, you are in once you are inside the Docker, you need to check that your check the function called as your database health status. So these are the 3 things which you need to provide. I think that would solve your query, and in that itself you can directly get what is going on. So that is provided. So just try that out and see if you get the answer. If not, you can get back to us anytime and we will help you out. Now there's a question from Mubarak Mujawar. So question is, can we take remote access of NIF server through Android mobile phone? Through Android mobile phone or any device where you have the network connectivity, you can access to NIF console, yes. Also, if it's a NIF server, so if you say a NIF server, it's like you have where you are doing an SSH connection. So you need to have a application on your Android phone where you can do an SSH connection, or you can say FTP connection, or you can say connection to the remote device. So definitely you can definitely go ahead and do that. At the same time, if you're interested to work with the mobile log, if you want to forward from your mobile to the NIF itself, NIF adapter, so you need to install an application which allows you to forward the logs. So you can try that as well. So this will solve your query, Mubarak. Then we have question from Sumit Jaiswal that is replication in high availability mode will happen from data store 1 to data store 2 and vice versa. So the data replication in the high availability mode is specifically from the master to the backup. So if you say that data store 1, if you make it as the master with the priority 101, so replication will be from 1 to the second one, which is line. So you can say 1 to 2, yes. So just in case here, if you have data store 1, 2 and 3, so 1 goes down, so next time DS2 would be up and running. If 2 goes down, then data store 3 would be up and running. Now, just in case data store 1 comes back alive, then you can see from data store 3 will get a keep alive D message that the master is back, and let's give that data store 1 will be up and active. So the next will the command, or the you can say priority, will go to data store 1 and it will be up and active. This transition, this switch is quite very quick, and at the same time here you don't have to worry about your data replication because your data gets transferred very quickly. So I think this would solve your question, Sumit Jaiswal. Then there's a question from Abhilash Hari. While we log in into NIF web console using AWS server, you're getting a connection unsuccessful, any and error 404, how it can be resolved. And okay. At the same time, what you can do is like, if into the AWS server, so this connection is related to you're connecting to the instance, or you're connecting to the, you can say through SSH connection, you're trying to connect to the instances which are onto the cloud. If you're getting 404, it would be because at the backend you might not have said that you are provided the protocol HTTPS server, that is like service group. Inside that you have HTTPS server, TCP and the UDP port number and the IP number. So just go and have a look at it. So once that is done, you will get a successful connection, and this 404. So this is 404, like it is not found, means there's a connection connectivity. So just check the IP addresses and the port number properly, and you can definitely get the connection done. Okay, so then let's come to okay. Okay, so Deepak, yeah. All right. So then we have a question from Akshay Dhire. So can we raise real-time alerts based on the events from DCC? So here, Akshay, let me just tell you, the DCC is something like which you are getting all alerts notification. It's like a notebook, like activity which is there. So we cannot raise the real-time alerts from the DCC. It's like we can view what's going on. But if you want to raise the real-time alerts, you can do it using the NIF console. So we are going to see how we can raise the real-time alerts. So you will get an idea as well. So this will solve your query. So then we have question from Anurag Sugandhi. So question is, can we do monitoring um, or basic activities from mobile devices, or example alerts, dashboard, case management, etc. take actions? Here, if you have connection to the internet connectivity, yes, you have the browser where you're going to go.nif.it, and you have the user credentials to log into the web console. Once successfully done, so you can create alerts, dashboard, case management, and you can take actions. Yes, you can definitely do that. So you can definitely try, and you will be amazed to see that you have an access from not only from the desktop devices or the laptop, but from the mobile devices as well. Okay, so this will solve your query. So now, okay, okay. So I think here we have the queries of everyone. So at the same time, so for the question, there's like okay. Also, at the same time, there was this query connection from Deepak Nerela where you had got 404. Just check if you have your UNET port in the security group open or not. So just make sure UNET port in the security group is open or not. So that would actually solve your problem. Now, again, at the same time, um, okay, so I think this will be there. So coming back to the slide, so Praveen Chand, so I'll get back to you with the your query. Azure Cloud question is, Azure Cloud, can we use the blob storage or Azure file share for data store? So let me get back to your question. Okay, and okay, so let's come back to the slide where we have the backup and pruning. So the backup and pruning is specifically where you say that you want to do a backup and pruning. So let me just share my slide. Okay. So first thing that comes into your mind is that we want to work with the first important information is what will happen. I have a limited storage, limited information. Or suppose like I have given like 60 GB storage or 60 TB storage, but I want to integrate more information as well. So that time what you do is like you either you can start taking a backup, or if you have the budget with you, you can increase your you can say the storage. But usually I would say I will start taking a backup at some location onto my you can say separate locations into the hard disk, which I can easily you can say attach and remove. The second would be I would take a backup onto my local system, or I would take a backup onto the cloud storage service available with me. So that is a good way to go. Now here, once you say that you want to take a backup of your data, so the first part that comes in mind is okay, you want to take a backup of data or the configuration files. So in this, what you're going to give is okay. So what you provide, the first question that you are taking your backup of your information. So let me take you to the component where you do the backup of your data. So let's just say you are doing the management. Okay. So in not in the management, apart from the you can say access your NEF container, there's one more information which you can see onto the website is in the management itself. Okay. So you can do it either automatically, either manually. So how do you do manually? Provide the path. That is very important. For providing the path, what you can do is like first path is that you can work with the location. Now here this is available for the 7x versions, and it is for you can say the file called as the tool folder where we have seen the sync.yaml file. So let me share you the backup, and let's say tool folder. Let's see. So can you see there is like sync.yaml file. So in this what you're doing is you want to start taking a backup of your data. So if you open this particular file, what you're going to actually get is that give frequency means after one day start taking the backup, you provide the date, or you can just provide specific date from this. So I want to have a retention period of 1 month. Today is 22 of June. So I want to take a backup of 1 month. So from 22 June means from 22 May to 22 June 1 month. So once it is 23rd June, so it will take backup of 22 June. That is like one day next. And whom do you want to give a notification to? You can provide the email recipient. So you provide the email ID over here. So now this frequency is nothing but number of days prior to the date of execution. Means if it is Jan 10, frequency is 1, then backup will start from Jan 9. Either you can provide the frequency, or either you can just provide the date over here. So both ways will come. Now you have done the changes in configuration. Now this is the manual backup. You have done the changes. Second part is you can create a folder where you want to keep your backup. You can create a backup folder or a snapshot. So snapshot will consist of the name of the indexes, and the backup will consist of the actual data itself, the indices. So here what you provide, so you have created the folders. Okay. So once that, what you do, you provide the next function called as you can say provide the backup. So for a daily backup, you provide a cron number. So let me just give you an view. So um, you can say for every machine there is a cron job available. So system can understand cron tab -e. So it is going to execute for at 1:30 p.m. daily from the Python from the location. This particular location is going to take a backup of local backup.py. So once this runs, so what this consists of the YAML file, and the YAML file consists of the date when you are starting your backup. So you can also say you want to list the jobs which you have. So you can see one job over here, you can have 10, 20, 30, 40 jobs also. So this is like automatic backup. So the second would be how are you going to take a manual backup? You don't provide the cron number. What you just provided, just provide the frequency. This is the YAML configuration. When do you want to start taking backup? Second is you provide the path. Means you just manually do Python space local backup and .py. you are manually running. So you can see there's a tar file which gets created at what particular location, at backup location and the snapshot location. So you want to see is the backup of the indices created or not. So you can see backup, you can see tar.gz file and txt file. Gz file is nothing but your actual configuration data, and txt file is nothing but it consists of your md5 hashes, message digest 5 hash files for that particular tar file. You can transfer it through the VPN channel through secure communication. Also at the same time, what you can do is like you can compress and you can send it however you are presenting or sending. So you can do that. Now you want to check if your backup, how long, because the backup may take time if it is a large file. Suppose in a today, yesterday it was 10 GB of storage space taken. I want to take a backup of 10 GB altogether. So if you have the hardware, it will have its own speed to read, write, transfer through the network. So based on that, you will have the backup time taken for transferring 10 GB of your data. So you can see over here for this particular, you can say index number, the status is 200, request time taken this many seconds. So it's going to say that this is the time taken to transfer that particular file from this location to the particular location for backup or creating the indices. So you can say that that using the tail command, you can see the backup status log. Just in case if memory at your destination is full, then what will happen, will break, the backup will stop completely, or do you have to restart it again? So what you are going to get it as, you're going to get a message that at the destination this much memory location is left and you need this much space required, and you will get to know last index which has been saved will be there, even if it is half index which has been transferred and memory gets full. So you will get the last latest which is index completely which has been sent. So that is the big, you can check the backup if it has been sent or not. So how regularly do you need to take a backup? Now if I am into the banking sector, or if I'm into the, you can say, education sector, if it is education, I'll take a backup of every like 6 months. And if I'm into the banking, I would say I want to take a backup of every 1 month. And if I'm into the cyber security, that totally depends on everybody's scenario. So you can do that. Now you know you are taking the backup, but you want to delete your indexes. So for that, there is a file called as, you can say over here dill.yaml file. It is inside the tool folder where you take backup, you can delete also. So when do you want to start deleting? So suppose you have an environment situation or your requirement, I want to only have a backup of 1 month, but for every 1 month it keeps on increasing, date keeps on increasing, the last data I don't want to keep it in my storage. So let's, you can say, delete the data. So that time you can delete the data automatically by using the del.yaml file where you put the frequency. So 46 number which you're saying is, means your retention is 45 plus 1 day, the next day which gets passed will start getting deleted. Now how will you run this file? So there's a file called as esdb underscore delete.py. Same procedure as you take the backup of your data. So once this is done, so there is like restoring, you know where is your location where you have restored your database, or you can say restore your indexes. What you need to do is like you just need to go to that path. Okay, so you can just say that your path is at, okay, so you can say just cat indices, say the list of all the indices, green status they are open or who are closed. You can say which one do you want to start taking a backup of. So you can just start taking backup of this particular data at a location, and you can definitely do it. Now, once this is done, how are you going to manage them? Means how are you distributing them? How are you storing them? So there is the location of the indexes. So you can put it inside the Docker container folder called as backup, or you can create folder inside folder inside folder. So here we are creating nodes. We are putting inside the folder called as indices. So that is the location of the indices. Now, as you can see onto the screen, these are in some encrypted, or you can say some format. Even if you try to open it, you are going to get the binary number zeros and ones. Now the next part is the checking the indexes. For checking, you can just provide, you just provide Python and you just provide cat indices, you get all the list over here. So once this is done, you can get all the information. So if I have to take you to the go.nif.it, so I'm just giving you an idea. Okay, so now these images or these information which you have seen, so let's see for the latest one. So let's see this indices, how it looks onto the front screen. Okay, so now we have logged in. Now I'm switching to the mode where you can see all the information. So let's see first. I'm interested to know the indices in the present. So you can see indices. Yes. You can, do you want to close, open with the administrator privilege? So there are like two privileges. One is the general user, one is the administrator one. If it's a administrator, you can see creating user and the scope, and if it is not an administrator, so these two won't be there. So here also at the same time, now I'm the administrator. What you can do is like, now today is 22 June. So let's see for 22 June, it's like till now 3.4 GB has been utilized for the memory. So on 18th of June, 10.4 GB has been utilized. Do you want to create a replica of this? So you can just say, I want to create a replica, means set a replica. And then the next part would be, do you want to close the index? Do you want to open an index? And you can do that. So once you have seen this, set the replica, the path which you have mentioned at the backend, so that will run and it will save. Now suppose just in case if you want to open and close here itself, so you can do is like open and close the index. Now you can see here it is given for today it will not close because it is still in the writing mode. So if it is for yesterday, day before yesterday, you can close the indexes, or also you can delete the indices. Now as I'm the sub admin, so I cannot delete this. Okay, and also can you see the list of indices which are at the bottom? You can see these are the indices which gets closed. So this query which is running at the back, which is automatically closing this indices, means open to close indices. These are available, but if you say I want to fetch the data for 8th of you can say May 2020, it won't be visible because it is not in the reading writing mode. It is there inside the backup folder. But if you want to view that data, the first step which you need to do is like make the close index to open index, and you can view the data onto the NIF console. So if you save or view inside the NIF console, what you need to do is like just I am just saying I want to display the last like 24-hour duration, display all the logs. Now if I see this, I get very happy that you am able to see the logs, the real-time logs, as well as the you can see the parser who has given the information over here. So this is like a very important information where you can do a lot of things, or not only for you can say correlation, but for the machine learning enthusiasts. So you have lots of information with you. So that is where you see you do the operation of you can say restoring and managing your indexes. So you have seen this. Now the next part would be, now um, a rule came that you want to change the IP address. So here what you can do is like, where are you going to change the host address of this A10 component? So this is going to be help at, okay, so you can see it over here. Okay, so the path where you have to go it is, you have to go inside the folder called as CSTUL config. Inside that, you just need to change the pyro file, just provide the host IP address and your information is changed. Second location which you have to provide is in the system where you provide what is a local IP. Once this is done, your host address, which is like you can say, which I'm displaying onto the backend side. So I'm just providing. So you can say if you are changing this your Ethernet, or you can say suppose your this IP itself, okay. So you can do the changes over here. So you can keep it public, you can keep it private, but mostly it is mentioned to have a IP which is static, and it will be helpful so that whenever connection is there, the IP doesn't change if any of the components close. So this is where you see how you are going to update your devices. Now the next part is that you are interested to work with the you can say logs you want to forward from the Windows devices. So let me just take you over here. So suppose if you want to forward the logs from Windows operating system or any operating system, so you can go to the logs and where you say operating system. So if you want to work with the Ubuntu event logs which you want to provide, So there is a you can say service called as, you can say, nxlog. It's an agent based because Windows cannot forward. You need to download it, just a 3 MB of your file. So once you download it, so after downloading, you need to go to your C drive. So let me share my screen where you download this. Okay, after downloading, if it is a 32-bit or 64-bit, go to that location where is your nxlog. So you can see nxlog, and you can see configuration file. You can see nxlog.config file. So once you open this, okay, so let me show my Notepad++ editor. Here you put the code where you say that your location, it is at 64-bit location. You are getting the data from modules, data folder, you can say the function called as JSON, because you're providing your Windows log format. If it is Windows 2003 version, you use function called as MS event log. If it is MS Vista log, now it is 2010 and higher. So I use the MS Vista log. So this hash means it's a comment, and this is called using the XML format, that is a tag input is open, tag input is closed, tag output is open, where you sending the data. So you're sending the data to the host IP address whose IP or whose port number is 514, and the last is you're providing the route from input and what is the output. Now at the same time, if you see what are the files which are created, so you can see inside the data folder, so you have your dat file and log file. Okay, so these two files gets created once you start your service. Initially there will be no file inside this location. So I'm opening, you can go to control panel, you can check the services, and let me just share my screen where you're at the, where you can see the services. Here once you install it, so you can say nxlog service, and you can just give as a restart. So just in case if you find any files or DLL missing, so you can just paste it at the location where while doing the troubleshooting. If there's no issue, means everything is working perfectly fine. So let me come to the data where you see the log file and the dat file. So the log file, if you open the particular log file, okay, so let me share Notepad++. So here you can see the last time the particular service started as, okay, so you can say at 1:49 the service is started. You can ignore the warning, just the most important part is when the service has been started. And then the next part where you see is, that is your configuration. Now what all information this data, or you can say using an nxlog, it is provided. Now this is the CE version, that is the free version, so it is going to provide. And now this is HP, so HP assistant or the kernel, all this information would be provided. So if you see what is there inside the dat file, that means it's an extension for data file. So here it is sending information of the applications, or you can say Internet Explorer, Kaspersky event logs. It is sending data of disk diagnostic, kernel level information, or Windows log IDs or events which are getting generated. So these are being sent over here. So you can see once this is done, once you have done your changes, you can close this, and always remember close the configuration file. So once that is successfully done, so you can see that you can see the logs at your, you can say, component by doing the you can say your um, adapter where you're listening the data. Now at the same time, once this is done, so the best part is that you get to see the list of devices. So if you're interested to see the list of devices, so you can see supported devices. Okay, so you can see if it is a web server, Apache web server, you can say you need to have syslog. So you can see the list of all log types, flow, Amazon VPC. If it's a cloud, Amazon configuration, Amazon S3 bucket. If it's related to VPN, ECOPS, your high secure VPN. So these are the list of integrations which you can do, and it is quite very helpful. Also, with this, you can also see how to work, how to integrate. So you can go to docs.nif.it, and there is like an integration manually where you have all the list with you. So if it's a device integration, you can view. If it's a, you can say, API integration, you can view them. So if it's a Postgres, if you see the list, you might have an idea, okay, these are the list of applications which you might have seen: Snort, Nessus, SafeSquid, Firewall, you can say Ubuntu. Then at the same time, if you see this, you have all the list available for you. Just try this out, very useful. Just follow the step, install rsyslog, and inside the default configuration file, put the IP and the port number, restart the service. So this is the baseline for every device which you are going to forward the logs of. Now, if you have to see for how are you going to see the log forwarding, or you can say enrichment plugins. So you want to see the enrichment plugins over here. So if I just say, you can go to, you can say GitHub. It's very useful. There are like around 51 repositories. So you want to have enrichment plugin, just type enrich, and you can see the list of enrich malware, bad IP, blocklist D, green snow. So there are like free versions and the paid versions. So if you see, if you go for the VirusTotal, it's a free version. You can work with the VirusTotal. It has a free as well as the paid. Green snow is the free version. Then what you need to do is like you just need to provide it or put it into a particular location. So suppose if you are working with green snow, how to integrate this? So the first step which you have to do is go to NIF Docker container, go to enrichment plugin and just call this file. Now this is going to download the files which are over here. So these files are there. In this you are going to do the changes in nifconfig.yaml. So what it will, this is a free version. So it will have the source IP over here. The ones which requires API will ask for the API key, and if it's a paid version, so they'll ask for user ID and the password. So this is for the, you can say, the green snow. So if I look for the, you can say, VirusTotal. Okay, so that's where I want to do a lookup for the VirusTotal. Where it is stored, you can say NIF container lookup plugins, and you just have to call git, and here you provide VT API key. So where are you going to get this from? Okay, so suppose if you are giving for a location, a VirusTotal. So let me just have a look. Okay, so where you can provide, suppose there are like list of VirusTotal databases. Okay, so let me just take you. Okay, so there is like you can provide VT account. Okay, so you can just register and you can directly get it over there. So I'm just going to sign into VT and sign in. I have just only registered this, and after registration you can definitely get it. And once done, entered. It doesn't take much of the information, just your email ID and some description. You can go over here, you can see an API key, and you can see this is the API key for this email ID. You have to put it over there. Now there's just limitation that you can have access is public, yes, but your request rate is 4 requests per minute for the free version, and 1,000 requests per day you can take, and monthly quota is 30,000 requests per month. But if you want to have more, so you can go to the premium VirusTotal database. So similarly, you can work with the, you can say, your Kaspersky or the paid version and all. So you can do that. Now, just an example, suppose I want to show you an example for, you can say, ClickSend. So here, so suppose just an example. So I'm going to take a volunteer whose mobile number I'm going to be put, and I want to give an output as in like how you're getting as an output for trigger. So just in case, suppose I want to give a call operation. So this one command which I'm just going to provide is, and I'm going to go to the NIF console. I'm just putting, so this is to understand that you can provide the console output. So here I'm just going to give my colleagues, you can say, mobile number. So Mobin, if you are connected with me, so I'm going to put your mobile number here. So I would like you to just put your, come on unmute and put your mobile phone on loudspeaker so that we can see the output. Okay, so you are connected with us. Okay. Okay, so all right. So I hope I have provided correct.
Yes, it's correct.
Okay, so I'm just firing this query. So if you see the double quotes, this is the message which I'm going to put, and I'm going to get the information from this. So you will get two filters from this. So I'm going to put it on mute.
I hope everyone was able to hear that.
Yes, thank you, Mervin, for being the volunteer for the ClickSend. So, as you had heard, if you have not heard, so let me give you what the person had spoken about. So, you are getting input that first is Intel true, means for the IP address or where you are looking for, if it is found inside the enrichment tool, or you can say where you can see as the output as first filter, which you have found it, this IP, it has violation field destination and it has been found inside green snow and the blocklist database. I want to send as an alert as a call information or call notification. So by using the directive, the sentence the lady mentioned is source IP, and the person read the source IP address, found positive Intel, check against Intel feed and the Intel reference number. So you can provide or customize however you can say the sentences which you want. At the same time, if you want to have more features like sending a video call, sending an IoT, so these are the functions which are created and you can also customize it onto your environment. So with this as well, if I just give you instead of this, if I provide you the next function that is called as an SMS, so this is going to give you an SMS for the information. That is like the SMS, the person will get the information that the same sentences in the SMS format. So now in this output, you can see this is the balance. This is the Vodafone number of my colleague. It is from country India and he might have received the contact from this number. This is the message ID, successful status, the time at which it was placed at the UTC time. Total price taken is 3.0736 and Intel reference source IP violation field coming from the first filter 1. So this is how you can work with the response plugin. So this was just one of the plugins which I had mentioned it to you. So if you are experimenting, if you have the net setup ready, and if you have the access of any of the scope with you, so you can try and experiment that, and you can work around with this. Just try not to experiment too much as it is a paid version. Now, now also at the same time, once you have heard the voice, so that's where you say that you want to have which language. If you want to have English, or it is the particular source and it is a gender male, female, and you want to have a successful or a false message and the machine detection. So these are the details which you provided which you provided inside the YAML file. That is the configuration file over here. And with this, I hope you have got an idea about how to, you can say, forward the logs. Now at the same time, let me just give you a small a quick video. Okay, so let me just search. Okay. So I've got a very good video for you so that you can see how the logs which you received onto the NEF console. So I'm sharing that screen. So I think this would be the session where you can understand how you get the logs. So these are the steps which you see that you provide. So it's very good. You can proceed with that. So I'm just fast forwarding. You see that this is the Windows log, or you can say agent which you install and which you take it forward. Okay, so I'm just taking it fast forward. You have the MSXI, just install it, easy steps. Once installed, and you can see that in the C program file, as it is 64-bit, it will go to that location. You can see all the files, configuration files, data file. So you open the file, you have the by default data, you put the actual data from the website over here. If it is 32-bit, you take the 32-bit. If it is 64-bit, 64-bit. The codes are same, it's just the path where it is installed. And once you put it inside the configuration file, save the changes, put the IP address, put the port number. Once it is successfully done, you just start your service. This is steps for all the, you can say, agent installation. Without the agent, you don't have to do this. You have to just put the destination location. So status is running, yes. You can see the log data and the DAT data which you have seen. Now, once this is successfully done, okay, so the next part which you're going to see is that how you receive the logs. So if you say onto the NIF component where you are logged in, okay, so you want to check the Windows OS logs are received at NIF adapter or the A10 component. So you just provide TCP dump, okay, and you just provide a function called as through the filtration. You can provide one specific IP which you're looking for, or you can look from all the inputs. So if you are collecting, if you have 10 devices, you are going to get this very quickly, as in like this is going to fast forward. So you can see over here, this is the my system IP address, and this is my NIF adapter IP address. This is my laptop or this is Windows device. How many packets capture, how many packets are received. Now you have received the raw logs and you have received the information. Now the next part which you are going to see is, okay, so let me come back to my slide. So now you have seen that how to device application integration. Now this is the one part at the backend part. Another part would be you have started forwarding, but are these logs properly or parsed or not? So with the NIF console, you are going to add the parser, and the API integration is like this. So you can refer to the website links, and then you have seen the log forwarding. So here now, before closing for today, so there are some queries which the candidates have. Okay, so this question from Praveen Chand: if we take index backup as well, and backup contain both index and data store. Now here it would be like, so whenever we take a backup, the data store uh, information is inside the data fold. So we never take a backup inside the place where you have the live data. So you need to make sure that don't take the backup at the place where the data store is. It should be separate. So I think that would be there. And if you are trying to do that, so it will not allow you to do that, because main it is specifically created for live data. Then the question from Abhilash Hari is, if IP has to be kept in YAML file, okay, what should be the data store address? Now, AD will have the IP of data store will have the IP of correlator will have the IP of the data store. So this is there. So if you are giving the public IP of a server, you can provide public IP, anybody can access it. So it's provided to provide your private IP. This will solve your question. Okay, again, okay, for using the question while server is in AWS. In the AWS, you need to provide your public IP. You can specifically provide your static IP address. You need to mention that this is your system IP which you are getting the logs from. You can do that, and your IP would change. So you can mention which IP which you are providing. So you can provide that. And then suppose we have question from Amir Mukaddam. Can we integrate and analyze flow logs from routers, switches, and firewalls? Yes, you can definitely integrate the routers, switches, and the firewalls. You can see what activities are happening on those devices can be done. And at the same time, you want to analyze, yes, because you are getting the logs at the NIF console. So you can analyze those logs as well. So this will solve your query, Amir. Then there's a question by Anurag Sugandhi that can we create own plugin any requirement to fulfill NIF needs? Yes, you can create your own NIF plugins. Usually you can say you can do it for the ML plugins. Yes, you can create a plugin for the different, but not into your actual environment, but in the your testing environment, and then you can launch it. So there are like some steps involved in it, and you can definitely do it. So that's why when we say that we are providing the customization to the customers and the partners, or whoever is accessing will be available to everyone. So with this, I think all the candidate queries have been answered, and just few queries which are will get back to them as well. So don't worry about it. So now coming to the conclusion, so I hope you all had enjoyed today's session. So let me just give you a last question that is like this, like all questions for everyone. So I want a few of you, as in like everyone, to just have an idea about what is this about. So as you can see onto your screen, okay, so there is a you can say I'm going to give a minute for everyone to solve. So there are like 5 questions inside it. So you can answer these. Okay, so all right. So this is based on to the today's like agenda which we have done. So you can answer the one which you find correct. Okay, so 30 seconds done. 30 seconds more to go. Okay, so 10 more seconds. So those who have not given the output, just click on any of the options which you find probable most answer. Okay, all right. So stopping the poll over here. All right. Okay. All right. So I can see that you have received. Okay. So the questions were related to the first concept, the first part which you have seen. So there's this question which analyst coined the term SIM. So 60% have said Gartner, so it's quite correct. And the question is, what are the examples of SIM logging sources? So the answer maximum have answered, so it's exactly correct. Then the third question is emerging events containing different data into a reduced format which contains comment event attributes is called as. So usually this is called as normalizing, but the ones who have understood or you can say mention indexing, that is also quite correct, but mostly it would be classified under normalization. Then because that's where you see the reduced format, and then you have the MDR. Okay, so MDR maximum have answered manage detection and response. So that is also quite very correct. And then you have which security technology takes user behavior into account when managing or making determination. Yes, definitely UAB is correct. And with this, your the first poll question, I'm very happy to see the results which you have given. So it's quite very good. Now, this is the first which you have seen for the poll one. Okay, so let's take a poll question for the second type, that is about the NIF. So I'm launching this poll question. So this will take just few more minutes. If you have, you can see you can recollect. So 1 minute for the second, there would be total 4. So this is the second one. 5 questions again. Okay, so 30 seconds gone, 30 seconds to go. Okay, so 15 more seconds. Okay, so it's 1 minute. So I'm ending the poll. Okay, so let's share the result. So you can see how many standalone components are there. You can see the standalone is something called as, you can say, one component, that is like A10 component, that is all in one. So the answer would be that mostly if you are looking at different like connector, if you're counting them, or if you are taking A10, or if you are taking Pico, then you can see, if you see the answer is 1, and if you're seeing, if the answer, those who have answered 3, so this would be standalone, means that you're uh, it's a distributed AD1, DS2, CR3, Pico 4. So that is the distributed components. So then the next part is the second, which name of service that collects system metrics from all NIF components? And the answer is data store API. Yes, absolutely correct. And those who have given DIN, it's for event inputs which you are getting. Not the this, you can say it is for collecting all the logs, and that is not collecting the metric data. Then event collector is for event collection, HTTP listener is for HTTPS listener at the adapter itself. Third question, NIF charges per volume, so it is EPS, yes. and highest peak and average peak is not part, and daily index is not part of it. It is based on to the EPS count. So that's where you have seen the monthly log volume generated and the events which you have seen for the low, medium, and the highest peak. Then what does adapter do? Yeah, so here the answer would be adapter does all of these. It takes in the data, that is ingest, it passes the data, it annotates as well as it enrich. So answer would be all of the above. Then we have features of NIF sim includes. So the features include SOAR UEBA. So the answer would be all of these. So I'm really very happy that many of you have given, like maximum majority has given the correct one. Now coming with the third poll. So let's launch. So 1 minute for this poll. So this is based on to the third section which you have seen, planning architecture configuration. 5 questions, 1 minute time. Okay, 30 seconds gone, 30 seconds to go. Ten more seconds to go. I have received the responses, very great response. Okay, so 5 more seconds. So I am going to end the poll here. Okay, so ending the poll. Okay, let's see the results. So which we have seen, the first one, the service which is used to for load balancing and load high availability. So it is related to the keep alive, and the answer actually is the second option, that is all lowercase letters and without any spaces, without any hyphen. So that is the second option which you have seen was given the 17 percentage. And this is just a case sensitive to see which service which you are working with. Second is which additional component is required when doing cloud deployment of NIF. So here the answer would be the spooler which is required. NIF command and control is nothing but a feature, or you can say for it's like a small component. Query node is like a configuration, and cluster is like a configuration, how you're setting up your configuration architecture. So spooler is the answer for the second question. Third is what is the full form of NTP? So here we have got the maximum answer as network transport protocol and network time protocol. So mostly it is, you can say it is like a transport protocol, or you can say transfer, which you can say. So here maximum have been, you can say, have given the answer for transport. Then the fourth is which protocol is used for high availability for NEF adapter. So the answer is yes, VRRP is used. So that is the majority have given the answer. And the fifth is full form of GPP is. So here this was the part where we see the GPG key, if you remember, that we provide at the time of installation, that is GNU PG key numbers. So the maximum information or the vote is given for the GNU privacy card. So that's quite, you can say, correct. As well as now, okay, so I'm stopping this, the third poll. Now, the last poll for everyone, which is coming up, it is related to managing your deployment and your interfaces, log forwarding. So 1 minute for this, 5 questions again. Okay, so here you can see the previous one, NTP, yes, Omkar Joshi, yes, it is network time protocol. Okay, 10 more seconds to go. Okay, so ending the poll here. All right, so here, let me share the result with you. Okay, so the if you want to see the RAM size availability from your command line, so you can just provide free -h, so you can get that. Second, the second is if you want to install any agent for forwarding the logs from CentOS real. So here you provide the function. So you may get confused between syslog or the rsyslog. So here I would give that as you for as an homework. So that is very important. If it is syslog or rsyslog, mostly it has the features, but it provides the capabilities for sending the forwarding the logs of CentOS. Then the third question is the NIF license key for standalone. So if I say for the standalone, it is for the A10 which you have just seen, that is the 16. So the majority, so there's a tie-up between 12 and 16. So answer is 16 over here. Then in what ways can you deploy NIF? So the maximum have given all of the above. So that's quite very correct. Yes, super hypervisor is also correct. Then the last question was, what is the query to do automatic data backup? So here you have given the two outputs. So here you can provide the first answer is correct, because if you want to do an automatic, you need to provide the cron number. So in the second, we don't have the cron number, so that makes this incorrect. So first one is there. Second one is also correct, but here you have just given the YAML file, and but it is not automatic. So this will be counted for the, you can say, manual one, but it is divided into it. This will be called inside the local backup. So this is like half of the you can answer. The correct answer is the first one. So I think yes, so everybody has given the poll very nicely, and I'm quite very happy. And with this, stopping on a good note, I hope you have got a lot of information with this webinar of 4 hours. And also at the same time, so the questions which are not answered, so we'll get back to you as well. And thank you everyone for joining today's webinar session. And we are going to see you again tomorrow at 10 o'clock sharp. And we are going to see hands-on of NIF console. And you are going to see a lot of useful information to work with. So thank you everyone. So with this, we are going to stop our meeting over here. And please take care of yourself and stay healthy, stay safe. And let's, if there is anything which you would like to share with us, so you can put it onto the YouTube comment section, and we'll get back to you. Or you can put it on to hello@nef.it, or you can put it on stack@nef.it. Okay, so thank you everyone. So stopping the meeting over here. Have a great day.